All right. Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and that means it's time for 1 million cups. So you can let the Kauffman Foundation know that our instance of 1 million cups is flourishing by pointing your cell phone at that QR code or the one conveniently located on these paper things that are sitting around here. Check in, let them know you're here, let them know we have a good audience. There is something in it for you. If you check in 3 times, you'll get a pen. If you check in 6 times on different occasions, you'll get the coveted 1 million cups notebook. Anyone who has one can show it to you, but they won't let you borrow. Okay, so here we are. We're 1 million cups, and this is our mission: to lower the barrier of entry to entrepreneurs, to resources and education and connection. And entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, and you're going to need some help along the way, and that's what we're here for. We are the top 1 million cups chapter in New Mexico, and we achieved that by having a small denominator. There are other instances scattered throughout the Southwest. Some of these I've been to in person. If you're on the road and it's Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., see if there's 1 million cups near you. Drop in and you'll see a lot of people that you don't know, but they'll be pretty friendly, and the format is the same wherever you go. Here's our key pillars. These are presentations, not pitches. And the difference is, in a pitch, you're asking for money. Your company has the ultimate team. It has the ultimate product. It has a completely defensible moat around it. And its only need is money to ring the opening bell at the NASDAQ. Okay, most of us are not in that situation. And even the people who say they are not. You're going to need help. And so in a presentation at 1 million cups, you're talking about your challenges. You're really opening up and saying, this is how my dreams and my company is vulnerable, and I need assistance from the community in these areas, including in areas that you don't even know that you don't know, right? So you're going to need help along the way, and it's all here for you. We're run for the community, by the community. All of our organizers are volunteers, which is not to say we don't get anything out of it. We get a lot out of it. Take me aside, and we can have a conversation about what I've gotten out of participating. We're radically and intentionally inclusive, which you can't see under the text there. But that means all kinds of people and all kinds of businesses are welcome. Whether you're a mom and pop brick and mortar operation trying to figure out how to run a small business, whether you're a whiteboard company that has gotten a little bit of grant funding to get started, whether you're scaling up, or whether you've gone all the way and you're one of those tentpole companies that can show us how it's all done. Everybody's welcome here. Everyone has something to, that we can learn from, and there are things that we can teach just about anybody. All right, that's the pillars, and that's our mission. Pretty much says the same thing. Remember that we're trying to be educational and helpful. Please be polite. Please be helpful. If you're talking to somebody and they know something more about something than you do, listen carefully. If you know more about it than they do, give your best advice and take the high road. That's what that is. Okay, applying to present. If you have a for-profit business, defined as a business that sells goods or services to people for more than it costs to produce them, you're eligible. We prefer companies that have been in existence 5 years or less, but there are exceptions. For example, I'm an organizer, and Equity can speak whenever it wants, even though it's more than 5 years since we started. We'll assign you a coach, and we'll try to bring you up to. You're laughing, but that's how it works.
I know.
Yeah, because you're dad, you know. You learned at your father's knee how this all works, right? So we'll coach you, bring you up to speed, and make sure that you're talking about the things that you're having challenges with, not how you're perfect. And we'll see what you can get out of it. This is our organizing team. I'm Paul Sauter, Chief Scientific Officer at Equity. Lisa Atkins, COO at FatPipe. Eric Renz-Whitmore, keeping the gears lubricated in Santa Fe. Danielle Slupeski, who is out teaching right now. Bravo. Sonia Dewing, who is doing something amazing, if you've been following her on social media. And Keiko and Oscar, making people look good through legacy family documentaries. So thanks to all those folks that keep things running. And then there are our sponsors. It's a pleasure to acknowledge FatPipe, who's been our host for 10 years at no cost. Million Cups could not exist without their generosity. Dry heat photography, making us look great and throwing away hundreds of photos for everyone you see on Facebook, right? But it's digital. It doesn't matter. We're not killing polar bears by taking pictures.
That's right.
Right? More than organized, Mary Mortisi Pino, providing assistance with organizing your stuff, your thoughts, and providing creamer. Foundation for Sustainable Living, providing the coffee, the original performance enhancing drug. Beyond Energy, providing energy drinks when they're here. And Noventum Custom Software Development, writing software that doesn't suck and providing today Girl Scout cookies. Minuteman Press for all your ink on paper needs. And they are the makers of these cards with the QR codes on them. So thanks to all our sponsors. And thanks for joining us. And we'll introduce our speaker, right? Oh, by the way, yeah, there's that. Everyone's got to split at 10:30. Got it?
Thank you. I'm going to introduce our speaker, so give me a second to share my screen. I think we can go full screen, right?
Yeah.
PDF.
I have a question in advance. Who's going to take pictures of you?
These guys.
All right.
I love it.
And I may take some of my own this way,
Yeah, take a selfie, sure.
because why not, right?
So this is fun. DeAnna Vincent is our presenter today, and she's with Dry Heat Photography. Come on up, DeAnna. She was out last week and I tried to take pictures with my cell phone, and then the next day my cell phone crashed. I do have them in the cloud though, so I'll try to get them to you if you want to post them. And she has an event this afternoon, or right after 1 million cups. We're doing headshot events, so I hope that you signed up. She's all set up and ready to go for anyone who signed up to have their headshots done. So that's exciting. DeAnna, welcome.
Thank you. Hello. Here we go. As she said, my name is DeAnna Vincent, and today I'm going to tell you the story of my business, Dry Heat Photography. And this story is 25 years long, but lucky for you guys, lucky for you guys, condensed to about 10 minutes.
And I'm just going to get the screen active and then I'm going to stop. Okay, try.
So I've been working as a professional photographer since 1998. I studied commercial photography at the College of Nevada. And at that time, we were doing things like processing film by hand and printing photos in the darkroom and that kind of stuff we used to do in the Stone Age. And around that same time, I also photographed about 3,000 weddings at various little chapels on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, I am from Albuquerque originally. So in 2001, I moved back here. And at that time, I got hired at a studio called Kevin's Photography, and I managed that studio from 2001 until 2007. So during that time, we, and by we, I mean myself and my team that I worked with there, we built that studio into the largest wedding photography studio in Albuquerque. So we shot between 300 and 400 weddings a year. We had a staff of 12 photographers, and I can tell you that all of that is a 100% unhinged, unmanageable, insane mess, and I don't recommend that at all. That's a terrible plan, guys. So in 2007, I decided that I needed to step away from that, and quite honestly, I thought that I could do better on my own. So on my birthday, November 9th, 2007, I quit my full-time job and I launched Dry Heat Photography. Now, it seemed like a miraculous and incredible overnight success. But the truth of that situation is that I had been doing the groundwork for the last 6 years, because at that other studio, I was the public face of that business. And so I had the relationships with all the other wedding vendors and with all the other wedding venues. And I kind of banked, I took a gamble that those people would be loyal to me when I made my play, and they were. So they continued sending me business just like they always had, and that allowed me to be immediately tremendously successful. Like 6 figures, more money I had ever seen in my life, successful. And that ran like crazy, basically until it stopped. So, and well, okay, so in 2013, I closed Dry Heat Photography. And the reason for that was because around 2012, 2013, the recession that had been going through the country and the savings and loan scandal kind of all caught up to Albuquerque. And the thing is that the people that pay for weddings is not usually bride and groom, it's mom and dad. Mom and dad pull that money out of their investment portfolios. Well, guess what? All of those people just lost everything. And that pretty effectively shut down the wedding industry in Albuquerque, and it forced a lot of small businesses, including myself, to close and to go out of business. So I closed the studio in 2013. Now you have to remember that at that time, I had been shooting at least 70 weddings a year, every year since 2001. So that's more than one per weekend, often 2 or 3 per weekend. Before that, 3,000 weddings in Vegas, right? So maybe you could sort of imagine I was a wee little tiny bit burnt out at that point. And at the same time, there was a lot of upheaval and other stuff going on in my personal life. And so when I made the decision to close the business, I mean, I just like shut the door and walked away. It's like, I'm done. And I never intended to come back. So I did some other things for a while. I worked as a personal trainer and fitness instructor. And that's sort of, well, not exactly, but sort of how I met Mercedes. I also worked as the manager of the print and marketing department at Staples. And just for the record, guys, that's not good either. Most recently, I had been production manager of an online music school here in Albuquerque. And every now and then I would have the occasional photo job, like begrudgingly, if someone I knew called me and begged, I'd be like, fine, and I would go. But I very much did not consider myself in business or a photographer at that time. But then, like all good things, the music school I was working for pretty much went belly up on New Year's Eve of 2020. And for probably about 6 months before that, though, I had been doing a few more photo jobs, but still very kind of non-committally, like, you know, kind of in, kind of out. But I didn't want to jump in. I was very non-committal. But when my full-time job went away and my full-time paycheck went with it, obviously, you know, that's a problem. And so that really presented a crossroads kind of situation. So I really had to have like a, you know, sit down, come to Jesus moment about what to do now. And really there's only 2 options. So the first option, option A, is to get over myself and my baggage and my PTSD and whatever, and go all in and bring this business back to life. Or I could just go get a full-time job, which I knew in my heart was probably not going to be good, right? So obviously I didn't want to do that, and I opted for the business. So I relaunched Dry Heat Photography January 1st, 2021. Immediately upon making that decision, the reality of that decision began to set in. So right away, you know, I just felt like sitting at the bottom of Mount Everest, just looking up and going, oh no, oh golly, this is ugly. So, you know, the list of challenges was considerable. First and foremost being that my entire referral network was gone. So everybody that I had worked with in the past that used to know me and trust me and send me business, long gone, long out of those jobs, moved on to other careers. And now nobody knows who I am. No one cares. And certainly they're not sending me business. Furthermore, my camera gear is very outdated, and my computer too. So this is stuff from 2013. It's 7 years later. It's almost obsolete now. Also, my skills were from 2013 too. So I felt, and my software skills. So you got to understand a lot of being a photographer has to do with computer work and post-process, and that's really important. And so my photography skills and my software skills, not up to snuff. I felt very out of touch with current styles and client expectations, and very much starting over from scratch. And so it was really a significant learning curve to get from where I was to where I wanted to be. and being able to re-enter my field as a competitive entity. So what to do about all that? Well, first of all, pretty significant investment in camera gear and computers and software that I barely knew how to use. So I had to get very serious about teaching myself to use that stuff, the software particularly. I found professional vendors to partner with. So I needed a lab, I needed online proofing, I needed a website, and ideally one company that could integrate all of those things. And I spent time working with other professionals, other colleagues in my field who, thankfully, I still had some friends that were still in business and were generous enough to hire me to not only so I could go help them, but so that they could help me. And that was huge. Of all the things, that is probably the most significant thing that I did. Because especially in this industry, mentorship has to come from someone who's in the trenches, because that is the only person that really knows and understands what it takes and what's involved, and really has the mindset and the mentality of what needs to be done. And so the time I spent doing that was absolutely so important, such the best thing. And then the other thing I did is I joined several networking groups. So now dry heat photography is a very different business than it used to be back in 2007. So back in the day, I was all weddings, and that really left me only in search of one type of client, and her name is bride, or people getting married, right? And everybody's fighting over this one niche, and it's kind of easy to get pigeonholed in that area. And I knew going forward, I really wanted to reinvent myself in my studio and to branch out into different things. So what I do now, mostly is headshots for all types of professionals. And on the heels of that, promotional photography. So that can include things like environmental portraits, product shots, action shots, photos for social media campaigns and various types of marketing. I still do weddings and events. And then my other two big ones are family portraits and high school senior portraits. So those guys are, I spend a lot of time in those two areas, and that's very fun. I really love it. So now, my biggest present day challenge is exactly the same as it has always been, and that is consistent bookings in all seasons. So the way this industry works is that there are several months out of the year where we work around the clock, drink from the fire hose, run ourselves ragged. And I would feel like I have to do that though, because I'm like a squirrel, saving all my little nuts for winter, because winter is coming. And there's a time when my phone could literally not ring for 2 to 3 months, and I have to be able to have enough money in savings to survive that time, right? I'm sure most of the self-employed out there are like, but that necessarily creates a pretty stressful situation, because I either have lots of money and not even 1 free minute of time, or I got all the time in the world and nothing coming in. And the latter being the more troubling of the two situations. Now, I will say that where I'm at right now is significantly better than where I was at last year at this time in February, and especially the year before that in February. And the direct reason for that is because of all the effort that I've put into growing and into the networking groups and to growing my referral network again. So what 1 Million Cups can do to help, my ask of you is very simple, actually, and it's just referrals. So if you know anybody who needs headshots, promotional photography, wedding or event photography, family portraits, senior portraits, please just give them my info and ask them to reach out. So I'm very happy to have a conversation with anyone about almost any type of photo shoot that they might be interested in doing. And it's a very low-key, kind of low-stress conversation. I'm not a hard sell type of person, but I think it's important just to talk to people about it. And if it turns out that we see eye to eye, we understand each other's vision, we click, they trust me to deliver what it is that they want, then great. And we can work together, and it's a beautiful thing. And if not, I think that there is a perfect photographer for every client. And I don't necessarily have to be that person for everyone, but I do have to be the right photographer for my clients. And so going forward in my new business, I feel it's really important to identify and take care of my clients. All right, and that pretty much concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, as you know, we'll take questions and feedback. If you'll form a line over here, I'll also take questions online. I'll take down her slide deck and put her contact info in.
That's all. Sorry, here you go.
Good morning. Miriam Ortiz-Pino, More Than Organized. I love what you said about you gotta have, drink from the fire hose while you can and then wait through the periods, because all of us have had that especially when we first start. But have you thought about scheduling paydays for yourself? So various promotions begin while you're still drinking out of the fire hose, and then you have the next series of things booked out. So focusing on headshots specifically during the slower times and weddings specifically in the spring and fall, and senior pictures. When are those? They do them in the fall.
All the time,
All the
kind of,
time.
but yeah,
Yeah, they need them every day.
but they do like it.
But if, I don't know what other marketing you do, but besides the referral thing, but if you had something low key running in the background, like on Instagram or whatever, which your Instagram presence is very nice, by the way. I think that could help just fill in that extra dead times.
So, yes, thank you for that. Got to stand on the
Not
star.
on the star, but closer to this direction so they can see you online.
Okay. Not gonna get it. So, yes, to your point, I have gotten better at doing that by like planning events like the one today, and trying to get those going on during the slow season. It is a challenge though, just because it's me, and in the thick of the busyness, it's just, a lot of times it just gets pushed to the end of the list because I got someone's job that's due right now and someone else's job that was due yesterday. And so that is a thing that I do need to work on and kind of get better at, is just like scheduling those things out in advance instead of trying to think of them in the moment.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty easy concept to automate once you wrap your head around it. So we can talk more about that. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Santi online has some comments. I'm gonna bring him
Santi
up on the
online.
screen. Santi, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your questions or feedback.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm at a job site, so it might be a little loud. So great job, DeAnna, great presentation. I had, my first question was, who do you know that already is staying booked throughout the year? And then if you know who that is, or if you identify somebody like that, what are they doing?
Well, I think honestly, the people that I know, like we all kind of face the same problem, but the people that I know doing the best in the winter are honestly are very well established for a really long period of time. And they have really strong referral networks. So when they're getting these kind of oddball jobs in the off season, like corporate Christmas parties or like corporate events and things like that, they're still getting referrals from locations for things other than weddings in the off season. And that seems to be their best strategy.
That makes sense. And so you're kind of working on some of that now, right, with the networking groups?
Yes, exactly. So I've put a lot of effort into the networking groups, as you know, and that like over the last year has paid off exponentially. And I'm getting a lot more calls now than I was like this time last year.
That's amazing. Good work.
Yeah.
My other, like, just wild thought that came to my head while I was listening to you, it would take some work, like working it out, but is there an opportunity to put together some kind of subscription model for maybe large businesses that might have some regular turnover, where it's just like you get so many headshots that you get to use per month for X dollars, and maybe there's a couple other photo services that you could provide for them in that subscription model?
You know, I hadn't really thought of it that way per se. I do have corporate clients that continue to provide like recurring business. But I hadn't really considered putting together where say they just pay like 150 a month, or that's just a random number, but you know, where they would just pay like a flat amount per month and then receive up to X amount of services. But that could be a pretty interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, it was just a wild thought. I was like I said, it probably takes some playing with and testing, but maybe.
Right.
Maybe we can
Well,
chat about it again later.
Hey,
All
are you
right,
still
thank you.
there?
Good job, DeAnna.
Okay, thanks.
I can give you Santi's contact info. Come on up. Brian, are you next or? Sure. JP.
Hi, DeAnna.
Hi.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Really made me think about a lot of things. I'm Brian. I'm part of a group that's really active in supporting individuals and buying small businesses.
Okay.
I'm one of the individuals that's being supported. So I'm not part of a group that buys small businesses, but they support us in our efforts to review businesses and look for a small business that's looking for a new owner that needing to expand. That's what I do. But from your presentation, there's a couple things that stood out to me. You talked a lot about, you talked about transitioning and reinventing.
Mhm.
That's a word I see a lot, reinvention. It's not easy, especially when you've been so successful.
Right.
But then I wanted to ask about that, but then I kind of got pulled over into what you said between 2001 and 2013. You said you were very, very successful, and then you were a little bit burned out. I'm kind of wondering if you could give us some wisdom advice, some experience advice about how you would do it again and not burn out.
Okay. Well, so if we're being honest,
Yes,
that's
please.
that's actually been like a guiding light this time around. Because before, so well, obviously I'm, you know, younger then, and apparently had the energy and strength of 10 normal humans. And I just felt I had like a singular goal, which was to be the best no matter what. And at the expense of everything. Which is a bad strategy, by the way. So going forward this time, I knew I had it to be kind of a little nice to myself, because it's a lot better now, but a few years ago, like it didn't take much to kind of push me over the edge again. And I knew like, I can't have this happening all the time. You know, I have to be able to maintain and to act like a sane and normal person in public. And so honestly, that's why I decided to branch out into these different fields. So I found ways that I could still be profitable and lucrative, but in a much like lower friction kind of way that took a lot less toll on me physically and emotionally. And so, and provides a lot more variety. You know, weddings are like one of these things that is like endless variety, because you don't know what's going to happen when you get there. But at the same time, they're all the same too. And so, but being able to go out and do different types of jobs and deal with different types of clients who are not necessarily in this very like stressed out wedding mindset, you know, variety. So Stephen King, he didn't like say so much, but it's a quote in the movie Storm of the Century, where like the bad guy says, hell is repetition. So, yeah, so the way I found to deal with that was to branch out and be able to do like a lot of different kinds of things instead of just the same thing over and over again.
Thank you very much.
Annie, you have a question online?
Thank you for taking my question, and thank you for the presentation. That was wonderful. But let me ask you a question. As a small business owner, what are your strategic plans to scale? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's the term scale is kind of difficult to apply to a situation where you are the only person doing all of the work. Because it's difficult, necessarily there are limitations as to how much scaling can be done when it's just you and you do all the work. The way in which photographers are able to grow their business to make more money is, one, to have more jobs, but also to over time be able to raise their prices as they increase in popularity and are able to deliver a progressively better and better and better product that has more value. You're able to raise your prices so you can effectively work less and make more. That is generally the strategy that people look to. The other thing, of course, is to hire other photographers to go out and work for you. But this is a model that I have a lot of firsthand experience with, and honestly, it is that is not really something I want to get into, because a business based on my reputation, if I send someone out to work for me and they are not me, probably there's going to be disappointment involved.
So let me ask the question, because I look at this as an opportunity, if you will, to perhaps franchise your business. Like you said, you're the only one, and maybe you could be at the corporate helm, as a captain, directing everybody else, and everybody can be independent contractors and have their own business in their own locale. That may be a way to scale, is to franchise and replicate yourself in other ways, but at the same time, other business owners can have independence. Is that even a possibility?
Well, the thing about this industry and people that do what I do is that photographers are only willing to be employed by another photographer until such time as they think they can do better on their own, which usually doesn't take very long. So there's really no motivation for some other photographer to pay me for a franchise fee to go out and call themselves Dry Heat Photography when they can just call themselves Sarah Lynn Photography and just go do that. So the franchise model, you don't really see very much of that. There are some chains like in Albuquerque, Kim Ju, but it is limited to the local market. Usually the best thing to do is to start getting into selling like educational products, holding workshops and doing things like that. Creating online products that can sell over and over again and provide passive income.
Right.
Those kind of business models tend to go better.
Right. So maybe the thought is to pivot in the direction that would allow you to do that. I mean, are there options? I mean, I don't know photography business. I only know that I can scale certain businesses, and I'm always looking for that. When I acquire or do an acquisition to a business, it's like, okay, how do I scale this? Yes, maybe it's small right now, but how can I replicate myself so that I'm not, at some point, I'm not going to be able to do the work. You're aging out, whatever the reasons are, right? There's an exit strategy, and you want to be able to be sort of a part-time business owner or a strategic leader in the organization, as opposed to you doing the physical hard work, because it could be hard work.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So, but work smart, not hard. That's my mantra. But
Absolutely.
right, just my feedback.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, DeAnna. Great presentation. I'm JP. I have a couple of little small businesses, music business and sound therapy, Amazing Life Works. And I did photography professionally for a season on the river up in Taos.
Okay.
With the Carl Brown Southern Exposure. And when you do photography,
shooting like the
rafts.
rafters?
Yeah, well, we did the portraits on the beach.
Okay.
And then we rotate and do the action shot at the big rapid. And one thing that I learned, and I've been an amateur kind of hobbyist photographer since the late 80s, is that when you're doing it professionally, you have to have gear that like responds in the moment and know that gear.
Yep.
And you have to be ready to do things that you can't anticipate. So a lot of people now in the world, and I don't know if you're running into this, everyone has a cell phone and they think they're a photographer, right?
Yes, they do.
And you have like years and years of professional experience and technology and mastery. And so one of my questions is, how do you deal with people that want to hire you and go, well, my daughter is a photographer and, you know, she has an iPhone 13 and so how, like, in other words, is that ever part of the conversation in your work?
Yes, it is. So, yeah. The rise of digital photography has been both like good and bad for professionals. As you say, when you are working in the field in any kind of live action situation, be it wedding, be it river rafting, whatever, you have to be able to see and react like instantaneously, and you have to be able to change things in your camera without even looking at the controls. You know, and it takes years to develop that kind of skill. And then Joe Blow with his iPhone comes up and goes, "Oh, look at that. Oh," right? And then you want to punch him. So there's the thing. I mean, I'll be the first to say I shoot tons of photos with my phone, not for people for money though. And what I have found by and large is that those types of conversations are really kind of dictated by the state of the economy. So when people have money and they feel good about investing in a wedding photographer or family portraits, they know very well the difference between a professional and an amateur. And that it's obvious, and they can see that and they're willing to pay for quality. However, when they feel stressed about money and they feel like they don't have the expendable income, then they make concessions. And then they let their little sister who's taking a photo class in high school shoot their wedding. Or, you know, they let their friends show up with their phones and they just say, well, that's going to be good enough. But by and large, people do understand the difference in skill and quality, but those decisions seem to be dictated largely by their expendable income.
Okay. And then kind of another question in the technology. I know a couple of photographers, still photographers that have worked in the film business. And they've graduated into drone photography because that's a whole other brand new spectrum. And there is a lot of work in drone photography that a lot of people don't even consider. I mean, they're doing like the city of Albuquerque sends drones out to people's roofs to inspect the solar, you know, and do all kinds of real estate photography, both video and stills.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, have you considered getting into any of that?
So yes, and yeah, I've seen some very impressive drone photography and have put a good bit of thought into what would realistically be involved in doing that. But as it just doesn't exactly like fit into my business model, I just don't really have like a justifiable reason to invest the time and money and effort into developing that when it doesn't readily serve like the niches that I'm going after. So that's why I have it.
Okay.
But it is cool.
Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate seeing everything that you're doing up here and helping the community. And I applaud you for your work and consider more success to your photography.
Thank you. Marte.
All right, Marty McNabb with Show and Tales and Things That Matter. And a couple of things. One is I've seen you talk about being hired by other people for things. And one of the things that I did want to say is somebody mentioned your Instagram handle, that your landscape photography, your fine art photography, where is that in your marketing plan? Because it is stunning.
Well, because we didn't have all day to talk about this, I didn't really get into that so much. But thank you. And that is actually my first love in photography. That is what made me do this in the first place. So I do have a lot of my fine art photography available at a gift shop in the Alvaro Motel. I do also have an online print shop where I have a lot of my fine art photography for sale, and you can order directly through there. And I also publish the Dry Heat blog. So if you want to check out some of my travels in New Mexico, any place that is like abandoned, haunted, and gross and scary, like I'm there. So dryheatblog.com, check that out. You can see a lot of my travels
And then you talked about, or somebody else talked about reinvention and about, and somebody also talked about aging out and all of that stuff. And as we're aging, what we can do. And it's funny because the first time I went to your website and I saw senior portraits, I was assuming it was going to be senior citizens. And there, I get it, I got that, but my first thing, because I'm involved in 50+, 55+, and third act women. And I think that's a market that you could kind of play with, that idea of senior portraits being for both seniors, high school and seniors. What do you think?
Well, so a long time ago, I had this idea, it's like 90s era idea, but it was cool for a while for senior portraits to have the graduation years. And it'd say like 94, like big numbers behind them. And so I thought, well, that'd be kind of funny. You could have like 67 or like whatever their age. Same number. And kind of do like a spin on the senior portrait. Yeah. But in all seriousness, I pretty much am, I love to photograph anyone who's willing to be kind of genuine and put themselves out there to be photographed. I just love to photograph people.
And lastly, of course, I have to thank you. My event or exhibition, Our Community in 30 Things, where we've got a dozen people here that lent 1 or 2 objects. DeAnna did all the professional photography and it's set up over there. And then she also worked with me on a project called Martifacts. So the things that are important to me for a book that I'm going to be making. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Kenneth, you had a comment online. Do you want to say something to DeAnna?
Yeah, I just, have you considered production photography for television and film industry? We hire photographers all the time. Takes certain specialty equipment because you don't want the click of the camera going off when you're sound.
So you do mean still photography for that?
Yes.
Okay. And I do have cameras with silent operation. That is something that people have brought up before and I've thought about. Honestly, I don't know how to break into it.
List yourself at the New Mexico Film Office.
Okay.
And at the Albuquerque Film Office. And even if there is student films, you might want to volunteer for some small productions to get your feet wet, but I think there's even a union designation for photographers on 480. So you might want to contact the union, and they're very good about the transfer of skills into, they might be able to provide some guidance and training and then get you some jobs because those pay very well.
Okay. You said the New Mexico Film Office?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Awesome, Ken. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch, and I appreciated your presentation. I appreciate you doing it differently this time around. And one of the things that I thought about is I've got a friend of mine that just got married and they, had a photographer come in and do all the stuff. And then they went to a printer that I know and took one of the pictures and had it put on a canvas like backing. And he's got it hanging huge above his couch. And maybe with some of your landscape art and whatnot, you could consider that, or as an add-on to the things you're doing now. Is say, yeah, we can do this as a small picture. We can put together a book, whatever you do with that, whatever the people do with that, but maybe also create a large canvas print to ever done anything like that with your art before.
So you're specifically referring to the fine art photography as opposed to the portraiture?
Either way,
Or just
I'm
in general?
saying it could be an add-on.
So basically I have the way I deliver my product to people is I send them an online gallery of all of their images. From there, that is directly connected to my lab and my product catalog. So they can order almost anything, giant canvas prints, metal prints. And yeah, and I have some, big prints like that around town. For the fine art photography though, it's kind of a fine line there because that stuff is really expensive to produce and then it may or may not sell. So I do have a kind of a limited amount of fine art photography out in the world that is for sale, but I try to kind of push people towards the online sales to where I'm not footing out hundreds of dollars that might just sit there for 5 years, aside from like, what I print for myself and what's in my house and stuff like that.
And I think I was looking at it as if I was getting married and we had it, on the Basque and we had the Rio Grande in the background, and that meant so much to me to have all these photographs there. But it sounds like you already have a way for
Oh, yes.
the bride and groom to say, oh, I want this and I want it as an 8 by 10 feet thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Good. Thank you.
Ken Jackson, tkjepodcast.com. Check it out. So just a suggestion, I apologize to everyone. I showed up a little late, but I asked questions before I got up here to make sure that I was on the right path here. But as a speaker, I have a photographer that follows me around, but pay her to take pictures of me. But she pays, I pay her to take pictures of me. So that might be an area that you can take a look at when it comes to people that actually go out and do events. So if I'm doing a workshop, I'll have her come through for my portfolio as well. The other side of that is I ran a fundraising business here for about 11 years, and kids. The one thing I believe kids is a target in a lot of ways because people love to show off their kids. Yep. So especially in sports, everybody feels their kid's the next Stephen Curry. He's not, but they want him to be. My point is that they will pay you to take pictures of that child. So leagues like Yaffle, baseball leagues, if you go directly to the leagues, show them what you can do. A lot of times they will hire a photographer to come in and take professional pictures. To me, that would increase volume.
Absolutely.
You may be competing with the iPhone situation, but to me, they're going to want to get the best picture out there, and that's what you can give them. So whether it's just single pictures, I targeted little league teams, jazz groups, right, dance groups, all of those, that's money to me. Like that says take pictures, they'll pay for it, and they'll keep paying for it.
Yep.
So just a suggestion to kind of look at those types, because here in Albuquerque, there are no professional teams. So the one thing that we want to do is show off our kids and our cars, right? Car clubs. That's another place where you can just, really hit them. Like you can hit them hard just to show off their car.
Right.
They'll do the same with their kids, quinceañeras, baptisms, things of that nature that happen a lot here. To me, that's high volume, high turnover, because one thing they never stop making is people. And people, babies and kids, they're gonna join a sport. I'm telling you, they will play a sport, and that is a target that you can look at everywhere, including different leagues, sports leagues themselves, or camps. People want their kids' action shots and things like that professionally, so then they can turn those in and hopefully their kid gets to the next level. So things like that, where there's high volume, think about where you are. Here in Bouquet, the kids and showing it off and everything else, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a target for you.
Yeah, that's brilliant suggestion. And again, like I was saying, one of the first questions is just in the thick of it all, sometimes it's you get like this tunnel vision of like just survive today. And you kind of lose sight of all of the like other types of opportunities and things that are out there. So that's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
All right.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Red or green?
Red.
Yay.
And I think we know the answer to this question, but what's the one thing this community can do for you today?
So the one thing, honestly, is just referrals. So if you or anybody you know needs a type of photo service, especially any of those discussed today, please just send them my information, even if it's something we didn't discuss today. But the referrals is just really where it's at. And the more people that I'm able to talk to, then the more potential business comes from those conversations.
Awesome.
Good luck today in the back room.
Thanks.
I see a lot of newbies, people here supporting DeAnna, I'm sure. Come on up, Alex. Anybody else? I see newbies. Come on, come up here, form a line. We just want to know your name, how you heard about 1 million cups. If you have a small business, we want to know when you're going to apply to present. Simple stuff.
This is our friend Alex.
My name is Alex Hafez. Fortunately, have had the privilege to present here a couple of years ago, and as well as I've introduced myself a few times now over the last probably 8 years. Been involved with the entrepreneurial community here in Albuquerque for probably 8 years now. Spent 3 years as CEO of EquiSeek. Earned an MBA, PhD in neuroscience from the University of New Mexico here. A few days after completing my PhD, I founded a company here called Circular Genomics. I was founding CEO of the company for the first about 2 years, transitioned into the role of VP of Corporate Development Operations, led the company through pre-seed, seed, Series A financing, about 15 million total. And here at the end of January, decided to sort of realign my career interests with, my path forward and stepped away from the company. So looking forward to, some new opportunities in life now, but excited to be here today. Paul has continuously invites me to show up and be here. And, looking forward to meeting you guys and appreciate being here today. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Belle Marie Prudhomme. I found out about through my SCORE mentor for being here today, so I'm very excited. I have a small business, an LLC that I've had for about a year. So I practice functional nutrition and perinatal nutrition. So I have a online business where I see clients online, and I help them through nutrition and lifestyle avenues. So I'm very excited to meet you all. Thank you.
We'd love for you to present.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Corbeau. I did not know I was going to have to come up here and say anything, so I'm a little nervous. But I heard about 1 million cups through my Polka Dot Powerhouse sisters here, and here to see DeAnna. And I have a business called Spiral Path Journeys. It's a transformational travel business where I lead women's retreats to England and also here in New Mexico. And I have a solo travel coaching program where I encourage women especially to do their own solo travel. So very happy to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Foster. Totally unprepared for this, but we are starting a nonprofit esoteric metaphysical school. None of us have ever done anything like this. We are just starting. And I said, we're very excited about it, but we need a lot of help. I got here through Anna Luz. She invited me today, and I'm very excited about these meetings and meeting you all. So thank you.
Awesome.
Hi, good morning. My name is Anna. I work with American General Media. We have 7 radio stations in our group and full services digital company. So we can help increase your business and bring more clients. Thank you.
All right. Is that it? Did I get everyone? Okay. I can show a couple of events. Marty, today's your kickoff, right?
Yes.
You want to come talk about it?
Yep.
All right, so again, thank you very much to 12 people that are here. Some are not here right at the moment, but for starting me off with this pilot project called Our Community in 30 Things. I've been hosting story sharing gatherings about objects and like show and tell from elementary school for over a decade. But I've done them mostly one-offs, and this is the first time ever as an exhibition with multiple people being part of it. So today is the soft launch. I just came in yesterday and put everything over there. So you'll see it says Our Community in 30 Things. And we've got sponsors, of course, Fat Pipe, thanks to Lisa. Also 1 Million Cups, you folks right here who are primarily the people who stepped up and said, yes, I'll donate an object. I don't want any of you to tell anyone else which photo is yours. Because part of this plan is to